My name is Mark Johnson. Anyone who's ever worked as a long-haul truck driver would understand this. The road at night feels like another world. Out there, it's just you, the low growl of the engine, and the endless stretch of darkness. No diners, no lights, not a single soul, just you and the road. I had grown used to that for more than a decade. Used to the solitude, used to the heavy drowsiness that crept in as the clock ticked past 2 or 3 in the morning. But there was one trip that changed everything. Even now, whenever I close my eyes, the image still comes back, clear, haunting, and far more terrifying than any nightmare. That night, she was gone. I told myself, "You're just seeing things. Mark, you're exhausted." Yeah, maybe that was it. I had been driving nearly 10 hours straight. The caffeine in my system had long since worn off. My brain was foggy, and hallucinations weren't out of the question. With that thought, I took a deep breath, grabbed a cold water bottle from the side compartment, and gulped down a mouthful. The flat metallic taste of filtered water slid down my throat, doing nothing to clear my head, but at least it gave me a reason to anchor myself back in reality. I pressed on the gas, letting the truck roll forward again. The headlights lit up the rough, narrow road, flanked by dry bushes and jagged rocks. I glanced at the clock. Almost 1 a.m. if I kept pace. I'd be out of this stretch in about 3 hours. Just 3 hours. 3 hours, I whispered to myself, as if saying it out loud might make time move faster. But the unease didn't go away. I kept flicking my eyes to the rearview mirror. Behind me, the darkness was thick as ink. No headlights, no sign of life, just me, alone, on this road. The road ahead grew narrower, swallowed by a thin curtain of mist. My headlights cut into it, scattering the beams like shattered shards of metal. I swallowed hard. Part of me wanted to turn back, to return to the main highway. But then I thought, if I turn around, the delivery will be late. The company will dock my pay. No, keep going. The tires crunched rhythmically over the gravel, until I caught a glimpse of something darting across the rearview mirror. My stomach lurched, my eyes locked on the glass. For a split second, the slender figure appeared again, standing in the middle of the road, only a few dozen meters behind me. The same long white dress, the same black hair hanging down, hiding her face. I couldn't even react. In the blink of an eye, when I looked again, the road was empty. Cold sweat poured down my back. This time, there was no fooling myself. I knew exactly what I had seen. In a rush, I flicked on the cabin light, as if that weak yellow glow could drive away the terror lurking outside. But instead, it only made things worse. The cab was empty, and the pale yellow light only made my reflection in the mirror look more drained, more lifeless, and somehow unfamiliar. My hand shot to the radio dial. A faint static hiss filled the cabin. Then, something else. A whisper. "Get out." I froze. My heart seemed to stop. I turned the volume down low, leaning in closer. "You shouldn't be here?" The voice was faint, warped, like it was echoing from beneath water. Male or female, I couldn't tell, but it was undeniably human. I jerked back in my seat and quickly shut the radio off. The static vanished. Silence swallowed the cab again. But this silence was worse. Heavy, suffocating, as if someone was sitting right behind me, waiting for me to speak. I forced myself to breathe. Then I slammed my foot on the accelerator. The truck roared down the road, the engine growling in the night like a wild animal fleeing from a nightmare. And yet, I wasn't sure anymore, because in the trembling glass of the rearview mirror, I swear I saw that same pale figure sitting on the back of my truck. Thick fog wrapped around me like pale, suffocating ribbons. Even the insects had gone silent. The forest was swallowed by an unnatural stillness. Step by shaky step, I approached the trailer. My hand quivered so badly the flashlight beam jittered across the dull, rusted metal. Is someone in there?" My voice cracked, echoing strangely in the mist. No answer, only the fog, drifting in silence. I pressed my ear against the steel. Nothing. I turned to leave. Bang! A deafening crash exploded from inside, so powerful the trailer shuddered violently. I stumbled back, nearly falling to the ground. Panic took over. I bolted around to the cab, scrambled into the driver's seat, and slammed the door shut. The flashlight slipped from my grip, falling beneath the truck, Its dim yellow glow flickered against the undercarriage, like a watchful eye staring back at me. Breathing hard, I fumbled with the keys. The engine roared, then died instantly. I tried again, and again. Nothing. The dashboard was black. The truck was dead. Then, the rearview mirror trembled. I looked up, and my heart stopped. Out of the fog, a figure stepped slowly from the back of the truck. The girl. Her white dress was stained and tattered, her long hair draping over half her face. She moved forward with deliberate slowness, her feet barely touching the ground. I sat paralyzed, gripping the wheel until my hands ached. My breath hitched in my throat. Closer she came. With each step, the fog parted around her, as though ripped away by some unseen force. Her arms hung at her sides, thin and bony, her skin pale as wax. Then she stopped, right beside the driver's door. I locked my gaze on the glass. I couldn't move. Slowly, she lifted her head. For the first time, I saw her face beneath the curtain of hair. Eyes, milky white, lifeless, a mouth, torn wide into a grotesque smile, stretching from one cheek to the other. A chilling wind swept through the cab, stealing the air from my lungs. "Get out?" The words echoed, not from her mouth, but straight into my skull. I shook my head violently, screaming, "No, leave me alone. I don't want to know who you are." But then, the door clicked. I knew I had locked it. I was sure, but the mechanism turned on its own. The door creaked open, spilling cold fog into the cab. She bent down, lowering her face toward mine. The distance between us shrank to inches. I could smell it, damp earth, and the sharp, metallic stench of blood on her breath. Then, her hollow eyes rolled upward, as if boring directly into my mind. Images flashed, violent, fragmented. A crash, screams, a truck tumbling into a ravine, smoke rising, blood everywhere, and a girl in a white dress, lying lifeless on the roadside. I screamed, my whole body locked in paralysis. She whispered once more, "You killed me. You killed me?" The sound scraped through my skull like metal claws raking against stone, sharp, cold, unbearable. I screamed, struggling to move, but my body was heavy as lead. And then, in the blink of an eye, she was gone. The cab was empty, the door shut tight. The lock still latched from the inside. No one was there, as if nothing had happened. I gasped for breath, heart racing, cold sweat soaking my back. My trembling hand twisted the key again. To my shock, the engine roared to life instantly, purring smoothly, as if it had never died. The truck rolled forward, tires crunching over gravel, the engine growling like it was pulling me away from the nightmare. I forced my eyes to the road ahead, refusing to glance at the rearview mirror ever again. But the images wouldn't leave me. Those white, vacant eyes, that torn, grotesque smile, those chilling words. Hours later, I finally broke free from the forest road. Dawn was rising in the east, a pale pink glow bleeding through the clouds. It was almost beautiful, almost enough to make me believe the night had just been a dream. I made my delivery on time. The warehouse manager signed the papers, oblivious to my pallor, to the tremor in my hands. To them, I was just another truck driver finishing his job. But to me, nothing was the same. I could no longer tell what was real, and what was illusion. Had I truly seen that girl? Or was it just exhaustion? A hallucination born of sleepless miles? The knocking on the trailer, was it real? Or only the frantic echo of my heartbeat in those words, "You killed me"? What did they mean? A memory? A curse? Or just some cruel trick of a fractured mind? The next day, I went back to that road. In daylight, it was nothing more than an ordinary mountain pass. Thick trees, jagged rocks, a few sharp bends. Peaceful, harmless, no sign of anything I had endured. I stopped the truck, stood in the middle of the road, and listened. Only the wind, birds in the distance, no knocking, no whispers, nothing, as though it had never happened. And so now, I don't know what to believe anymore. But at night, when I sit alone in the cab, my eyes still drift to the rearview mirror. And every time, my chest tightens, because I'm afraid that one night, she'll be there again, sitting in the passenger seat smiling at me. A week later, I slipped back into routine, hauling deliveries, grabbing quick meals by the roadside, sleeping in the cab. Life wasn't much different except for one thing. I couldn't sleep anymore. Every time I closed my eyes, that pale face returned, burned into my mind. The torn smile. The hollow eyes. That cryptic whisper. Again and again, I tried convincing myself it was only exhaustion. A body pushed to its limit. A mind fraying at the edges, hallucinations. Nothing more. I repeated it to myself like a mantra. But then, tonight, I stopped at a small rest area off the highway. I climbed out, grabbed a cup of coffee, and returned to the cab. I set the cup down, reached for the ignition, then froze. On the windshield, a faint streak stood out as if traced by an icy finger across the glass mist. 4 words, just 4 words. I'm still here. My chest locked tight, breath stuttered, goosebumps rippled across my arms. Panicked, I flung the door open, stepped outside, and scrubbed the glass with my hand. But strangely, the windshield was bone dry. Spotless. Not a trace of condensation. Not a single letter. I circled the truck, checked every crevice, even peeked into the trailer. Everything was silent. Still, I let out a shaky laugh, muttering to myself, "You're losing it. You're just scaring yourself." But when I climbed back into the cab, my heart nearly stopped. On the passenger seat, right beside me, was a dark, wet stain, seeping deep into the fabric as if someone had just been sitting there, as if dripping hair had soaked through the cushion. I froze, unable to touch it, just sat there, motionless, staring straight ahead. Outside, the night stretched on, endless. The engine rumbled to life, steady and low. My hands gripped the wheel, clammy and trembling, and in a fleeting glance at the rearview mirror, I swear I saw it. A figure in a white dress sitting silently in the backseat, smiling at me.